Very slowly, in fact, almost causing an accident there. Can't stop. No, in fact, we've got synchronized spinning and driving there from everyone to make sure that we get through.
The base they threw down was sawdust, and then they put, I believe it's a clay base over the top of it.
Welcome everyone to FGM eCast. We are back with OzPro-M tonight, live from Hockenheim. You did hear Scotty Rankin joining us back on FGM eCast for the second week running here, back on the OzPro-M Sim Series. I think probably one of his favourite places to be. And we are here at the new Hockenheim circuit for the first round of the series proper. And we've got a 20-minute race tonight, followed up by a longer 40-minute race. The cars are short-fueled here, so expect pit stops again. And Scotty, you were just enlightening me about the dirt track version of Bristol that I was being educated on last night by Carl Withy, and that we're going to be broadcasting on Thursday night for Anne's car.
Yeah, so Bristol, part of the NASCAR Ovals League, normally is it's actually a cement-based track. What's the word? Known as the bathtub, because that's what it basically looks like, so to speak. Basically, the banking builds up the further you get up, the higher you run around the track. So the top of the track has a lot more banking than the bottom, so hence the bathtub. Yeah, so the way that they've constructed that one is that they've taken the regular racing surface, laid down sawdust, and then laid down, I believe it's a clay base on top of it. It definitely looks like a clay base, but then again, we're over here in Australia. Maybe American dirt looks a little bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe too much time on their hands. Who comes up with this stuff? Like, I can't even believe they make a tyre that fits under a NASCAR that does that. Anyway,
well, it's like 30. I think it's 30 years on the dot since. It's like 40 or 50 years on the dot since NASCAR last ran on dirt in the official top tier series.
Yeah, right.
So trucks go there pretty regularly. I know trucks were running at Eldora last season. But yeah, this is the first time that the main game returns to dirt, which is really, really cool. So iRacing have included that with the latest update, as one of the BMWs there is testing out sand. No, it's not dirt, sand. It's close, but you can learn something by running off there on the sand. But yeah, and then obviously one of the other ones, Hockenheim. Yay!
Which, yeah, absolutely. An interesting track. I came here for a run during week 13 just to see what it was all about, running the short track. And I can tell you it is a tight, twisty, nasty little place to get right. But once you eventually get there, very, very rewarding. So with the field tonight, once again, a huge field here of just on 40 drivers on the grid. It is going to be fast, it's going to be furious, and it's going to be difficult for these guys to get space on their own. So just a quick shout out, of course, to the broadcast partners tonight. AJ Insurance Services, first and foremost broadcast partner of FGM eCast, and Ferguson Group Media, the company behind everything we do here, and series sponsors Bridgestone Select, Cranbourne, Fountain Gate and Rowville, along with Simrigs.com, 93PC, HJ Plant Repairs, and we do have Virtual Motorsport Mentor up there as well. So what a list. We'll get through those a little later on, give some highlights, but at the moment, just watching the tail end of practice.
Look, from what I'm seeing out there on the screen, people are definitely really testing the track limits and the absolute utmost that they can do with the cars. A few guys getting things wrong. Look, when you're trying to learn a track, and a track that is so new to iRacing, obviously, like you said, week 13 it was added to the service. There's been an extensive amount of testing, and Hockenheim is actually quite well loved within racing circles. I love personally, big fan of Formula One here. So
yep.
There's a lot of overtaking opportunities. Bigger GT3 cars, not so much. It's actually a lot closer and a lot harder to get past. Pretty much the only space is down into the hairpin along that back straight. If you're running a lower wing angle, really barrel on, get past things. BMWs have been running a lot lower wing angles for most of the recent GT3 seasons. Big places to really know and sort of learn from that would definitely be Bathurst. The BMWs, I think when we were testing them, were running 2 to 3 degrees of wing, whereas everything else was looking to run 5 just to create some stability across the top of the mountains. So BMW potentially got an advantage in that aspect of things tonight, which is really good to see the GT3s actually get that sort of breadth of styles of builds on the car. Mercedes has gone back to being a little bit more of an all-rounder. It received some changes that increased its level of torque and horsepower right across the curve. And the Ferrari itself has been pretty much the all-rounder of late. So I believe the Mercedes is naturally aspirated. I don't think it's turbo, but the other two cars that are part of this field are turbocharged. So when we go to some higher, what's the word? Man, I just can't use English tonight. It's just, you'd think native language should be no problems whatsoever, but apparently not. Not for me.
Yeah, it's
altitude. That's the one. Higher altitude. Yeah, there's less air, which means anytime you're ramming more air into it, big one that really uses that is actually the Pike Peak run. It's pretty much impossible to have a really good run up at Pikes Peak without a turbocharger or some format of creating excess oxygen in the engine, which is why a lot of people are starting to consider electric vehicles, because then they don't have the issues with running out of oxygen at that higher altitude, or nitrous systems is why they're so successful at Pikes Peak.
Yeah, right. Okay, that all makes perfect sense. We're just about to jump into qualifying tonight, and it's going to be, as I expected, an absolutely brutal exit out of pit lane. We're just trying to jump on exciting here. Normally our mandate is to jump on with the car that got out first, but with the massive stuff here, I'm just checking back through it, it's Joshua Fitt who did get out in front, so he will be the one to take us for the very first time on our broadcast around Hockenheim. So we'll ride with him as he takes us on the warm-up lap, and looking for purple and green. We're right up behind him there. The one of Sigrid's entry. The field has changed so much since last season, and last season was only about 8 weeks ago, that with livery changes, car changes, I can't identify who it is just by looking at the car anymore. So still trying to keep up or get up to date with everyone running here, but we are on board with Joshua Fitt for the first time around. He's having a little bit of lagging issue there, so we might actually try and duck back
probably whoever's
car
just behind him. Yeah, I was just about to say. And it's interesting to note there, you actually pointed out the BMW very quick in the non-aero dependent parts of the circuit. So down that back straight, closed right up on towards that Ferrari. The instant we got into a little bit of a tight, twistier section of the track, BMW does what it likes to do best. No turning for me, thank you. I'll just like to plow straight on if I can.
I'm waiting for the memes to come out about that amazing front grille that somebody at BMW decided they would install on the front of their car. Polarizing, I think, is probably the kindest word for it. It's a very interesting looking piece of kit, but when you see it in real life...
I spend a lot of time looking at them in my rear view mirror, so that's where they're best, actually. That's the best angle to view them from, is through a mirror.
Well, things may appear smaller than they seem, so or appear closer than they seem, so maybe it'll alter the view there. I can tell you what, in real life, not the most attractive looking thing in my mind. I think BMW makes some pretty damn good looking cars, so we'll see. So we are on board with Phil Orty, simrigs.com sponsored entry. And he is completing his first fast lap. Drivers are going to have to be really careful here about off tracks and actually making sure they get that banker lap in. It's very easy to take a lot of curb through here particularly, or to run wide across the apron there. You can see Audi just taking a very, very shallow line there to get the car prepped for the next segment, and he's just going to have to be careful, like they all are, to make sure he gets a banker lap in.
Yeah, look, I'm just having a quick look through qualifying. Obviously, no times posted as of yet, but having a look at the practice times, Andrew Dyson was the only driver to get into the 137s.
Yes.
So with the 137.749, Matty Cardaleone, also known as Cardo, as his in-game name shows, 138.083. So I'd say he's frustrated and fed up with that lap time, and he'd love to see a 37 on the board this time out.
Absolutely, and you mentioned just before, Cardo told us to give a shout out to one of the drivers, Aaron DeLuca, who has had a tree fall through his garage in the weather that's hitting the eastern seaboard and will not be with us tonight. A poor excuse in my mind, but no, absolutely, our heart goes out to him. Hopefully everything at home is okay with all of the stuff that's going on, particularly in your neck of the woods at the moment, Scotty.
Yeah, look, so Phil and I were just talking off air. Last weekend was my birthday. Last year I had to cancel my birthday party due to just right on the start of COVID. Everybody was shutting up shop and not really wanting to stay too close to each other as we started to understand what life would look like over the next 12 months. This year, playing my birthday party, flooding.
Yeah, an unfortunate turn of events there. There's you know what though, at least the state won't be locked down for 12 months following this event, and that's something that we can all be pleased about. So Jeff Connell fastest at the moment, a 38.14, with Maverick Benson right behind him, a 38.16, so very close indeed. Jason Benz just jumped in a pit lane with a 38.37, almost identical to Matty Cardaleone just behind him, and Matty Dench rolls out our provisional top 5 at the moment, thanks to HJ Plant Repairs.
Phil Orty using up all of the track limits and then some more, actually, just on my screen. So, yeah, that wasn't... you can actually see some of the dust still creeping out the rear end of that BMW.
They would have inhaled a heck of it.
Yeah, I mean, big grill. That's what they do. I tell you what, did you see the shot of one of the Xfinity Series cars going through the turf infield at Atlanta Motor Speedway over the weekend? It ripped the splitters on those things so low. It literally ripped half the front end off and sent the thing about probably 3 feet up in the air. Yeah, wow,
no.
Nose of it.
I did see the punch on that happened after the race finished, but I didn't see that part.
I think that was the trucks.
The trucks, was it?
I think so, yeah. So, look, I mean, I've been delving myself... You can probably know a lot about Bristol. I've been delving myself into the world of NASCAR lately, so... Yeah, look, it's exciting. It's different. It's different. If you're thinking about it, yeah, definitely give it a crack. I mean, one of the circuits that should be on pretty much everyone's bucket list is Monza, and they've got an oval there. And it's actually a tricky oval to run around, mind you, but hey, look, maybe we'll get the Hockenheim oval. I love the Hockenheim classic layouts. The classic, really using the back parts of the old F1 circuit is probably one of my favourite things to do in sim racing.
Yeah, I didn't really enjoy the dirt as the trail line through some of the corners when I first trialled it, but it is a ripping circuit, and again, another great addition to the ever-expanding list of tracks available through this simulator. Still, in my opinion, the best one available for you if you want to get into proper racing. So proper racing, that's what we consider it. So yeah, have a look at this track as we're just still on board here with Phil Orty. A great view out of the front of the M4 prototype, and he's doing a good job here to get this lap just on the board. and not running too wide anyway. You can see there's plenty of runoff here, and he's just put through a 39.92. Sorry, a 37. My apologies. The timing monitor.
37.
Yeah, the timing monitor's just killing me here, but that's okay. So yeah, just improved his track position. We've got just under 3 minutes to go here, so a lot of drivers only going to get in probably 2 more laps if they want to, and it is still Jeff Connell out in front.
Yeah, and what was I saying? Cardo would be a little bit upset he didn't get into the 37s in practice. He's achieved it in qualifying, up to a 37.895. So good luck from him. Look, I'd say he'd probably be happy with that. Jump out, grab a breather, settle back in. Quite a big field. Look, over the off season in terms of Ozpass, I may not necessarily been able to work my way into the commentary box with other commitments, but I have been keeping an eye on things. I've actually run with a lot of the Simrigs guys a couple times before. They're very, very clean, very fast, very willing to redress those sorts of things. So, look, definitely a great partnership and a great growth. Sometimes at the back end of your season, you sit there, you look at the season that was from an administrative and a running position, as you would know, Stu, and you go, how do I improve this thing? How do we get some growth going on here? We tried everything, tried some GT1s, we tried some GTEs, we're back to the tried and true GT3s. This time, to make it a little bit easier for the admins, there's no BMW Z4. Yes! Only 3 cars to choose from. And it looks like they may have got a lot of the balance correct. Do my eyes deceive me, or are you seeing a lot of the different variables right up there at the top pointy end of the order?
No, I see you're spot on. It's a good BMW, mix at the moment.
Ferrari, yeah, perfect. Exactly what I want to see.
Yeah, so no, good mix at the moment. And right the way through the field, as you mentioned before, the Ferrari is enjoying a renaissance of sorts. As a result of the changes to the balance of power that have come through with some updates since last season, and it's one of the strong contenders and back in popularity.
Yeah, look, I mean, right at the back end, right when the Lamborghini and the BMW were actually just coming out, I was doing a lot of practice and preparations for Phillip Island 24 Hour that was part of Private League. And I literally, at the back end of that, I just went, you know what, I'm sick of this car. I never want to see it again. And pretty much the Ferrari Fixed League went from, the official series went from being probably one of my most driven to right down the bottom in terms of interest levels and how much I was interested with it. And I'll tell you what, like, I was lucky enough to run in my first ever top split on road racing earlier this week. It was in the Ferrari and it did quite well. The balance in the thing has all gone from near nothing, you're trying to scramble just to keep the rear tyres under you, to it's really pointy if you know how to tweak it and change the balance around up on it. You can make it plow a little bit if that's what you'd really prefer. It's one of those cars that feels like it can be set up in multiple different veins, you know, if that's what you want. And I'm just looking at Daniel Webster, who was running the Mercedes over the seasons gone by, and he was one of the biggest names running the Mercedes, and he's in the Ferrari, so that's a big vote of confidence on that side of things. BMW, it just plows. It is so hard to get the front end of that car to settle down and point. If you can get it right, it's amazing. It honestly is one of the best cars in the service, but it's so difficult to get to that point. And then you've got the Mercedes, which is just a little bit of you never know when you show up at a track for the first time what the Mercedes is really going to feel like until you get out there. Whereas the Ferrari and the BMW, you sort of know what you're getting. The Ferrari, yeah, you can get a little bit of everything, but it's going to be, you know, pretty stable, pretty pointy, do it exactly what you want it to do. It's kind of like a better version of the Ford in my mind. And then you've got the Mercedes, which is just like, this thing is just going to hate me. Every time I touch the accelerator, the rear end's going to want to come around and be fighting with it. It's going to not want to downshift a lot of the time. It's going to have that really big bit of engine braking, which is going to cause rear diff locking. And it's just going to be not great. Well, some of that's gone away. Some of that's still there, which is, you know, one of the quirks of the Mercedes, but it's got this little bit more power back in those systems. So, look, the GT3s, GTEs, both classes are actually in a really, really good spot. So I think iRacing have found a really, really good balance, and I'm interested to see where they go next season. And of course, something that'll be on everybody's minds, especially those guys out there in the field in the GT 3 BMW M4s is Sebring 12-hour this weekend and GT tyre tweaks. So look, there's a lot out there in the world of iRacing right now, and it's really interesting and a good time to be a driver.
Speaking of which, we've got to roll through this enormous grid before we get too much further into that discussion. And the starting grid tonight is brought to us by HJ Plant Repairs. It was Jeff Connell who ended up taking out pole position with a 37.816. Just ahead of Matty Cardleone behind him. On row 2, we've got Joshua Fitt and Andrew Lee. Row 3, Maverick Benson with Luke Turner next to him. Jason Bent and Liam Caplice next to him. We've got Paul Mantle and Adam Funslow, followed by James Wilkins and Matthew Dench, rounding out our first 6 rows. Mario Vartanian, we've got Dale Breedy, Luke Fitt, Timothy Audie, we've got Sam Lehman, Christopher Henn, Lee Harrison, Richard Brookfield, Derek Audie, followed by Joel Gray and Daniel Fleming, with Aaron Oliver lining up next to him out of row 12. It's row 13. We've got Mike Casey with Daniel Webster. Watch for Daniel Webster to make his way through, one of the consistent drivers in the field. We've got Luke Capel, Nathan Groden, Phil Audie, Jeffrey Wang, Brady Buchanan, and Bryce Crawford. Then off we're almost out of it here. We've got Patrick Panton, Matty Johnson, Ben Hoare, and Hayden Jackson. And rounding out the grid is Tim Mitchell, Corey Nolan, Andrew Dyson, and Isaac Edwards as we get prepared to go racing here on the grid. We're off and running indeed, and it is Jeff Connell who's taking us away at the front here.
Yeah, keep your eyes on that black Mercedes. Down the outside is going to be... Cardo was really looking to try and get that car moved all the way up as far as he could. Look for any sort of room. There's a 777 of Damon Fleming in the background off the road. Going to have to try and flick spin that thing around. Unfortunately, the start that he was looking for just evaporates in front of his very eyes.
Thanks for picking that up there. We did have Damon Fleming, as you mentioned, crash, but we are through so far in the start of the field. There's a lot of shuffling going on, and we're going to have to try our best to keep up with everything that's going to happen here tonight.
James Wilkins is absolutely destroyed back in the pack. We've got Mike Casey off. He's now lost his rear wing. There's absolute chaos down at the hairpin. One of the quirks, of course, Hockenheim Ring, is that it is a little bit of a narrow track, but it's one of those tracks that promotes multiple sets of side-by-side racing on the first lap, but it requires give and take, and unfortunately in the early phases of the race, there's been a lot of take and not a lot of give.
Damien Fleming there, still in the wars, so we just sort of jump back into the mid-pack. Things settled and spaced out a little bit at the front at the moment, with some gaps between those lead drivers. Just want to make sure that everyone gets through here. You can see this huge pack making their way around Hockenheim for the first lap in this 20-minute heat race before we get into our feature race a little bit later on, as someone's off down the inside there and has run into the wall. It was Matty Dench who has gone, so he will have to make his way back on the track. He'll pit early, no doubt, as just seeing how many cars are going to make it through. Nathan Groden as well has jumped out into pit lane.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you do have to take a pit stop in this first race, get yourself out of the chaos early, get out and run your own times. Having said that, if you're probably in the first 10 to 15, it's not really an option, not something that you can really get down pit road and get yourself cleaned up and do what you can, because track position is going to be so vital. You're going to find yourself caught up around a whole bunch of cars. Hockenheim, I did mention it, there's wide sections of the road, but they're mostly on the straights. As soon as you get up to a lot of the corners, the track itself actually narrows around here. And that does lead to, unfortunately, a few incidents on the first lap, and subsequently, overtaking can be quite difficult. I just had a look back. Hayden Jackson was off the road there as well. So, the chaos still hasn't settled down. But then again, that's when you've got a 40-car plus field, you kind of come to expect that. Oh, chaos in the hairpin as well.
All the way down there's somebody... As you say, who is that? It is Daniel Webster. Oh! And that is an unsafe rejoin. Not ideal. There's someone up the track facing the wrong way as well. I'm not too sure who that was. Couldn't quite catch the number on that car. It might have been Luke Fitt, I believe, as the 46 of Tim Mitchell there just gets past. Good manoeuvre there by... Wow, trying to keep up with these numbers. It's intense. The 15 of Sam Lehman, I believe it was, who's gone through there as well.
I'll tell you, there's another car that's actually off in the dirt, just coming through the right hand, coming back into the stadium section just there as well. So,
I think that may have been Jeff Wang.
Yeah, may have been. I can tell you for a fact that Luke Fit was so bent up, there was only option for him was a tow back to pit lane. He was crabbing down the back straight after he come through the hairpin. Unfortunately, somebody rejoined across in front of him. That's his sprint race done. Fingers crossed he gets himself back out there and into a position whereby he's given himself a chance in the 40-minute feature.
And it is still Jeff Connell at the front. Things have settled there, so he's 1.1 seconds up the road from Matthew. Or I should say Matty Cardaleone. I don't think I've ever called him Matthew. Matty Cardaleone or Cardo. Andrew Lee just behind him. And then things start to space out. There's a really good battle going on between Luke Turner, Liam Caplice, Lee Harrison, and even Adam Funslow just into the back of this pack here. As you can see them come through the hairpin there. And they are putting on a battle here. Just a little bit of a gap for Turner. But behind him, things closing up. And that is the battle for 5th through 9th position.
Yeah, look, it's chaos pretty much everywhere. It's so hard as a commentator in this sort of a situation because you've got battles starting to figure themselves out right down the field. One of the biggest issues that a driver is going to face in a sprint race like this is what level of risk do you deem to be acceptable? Are you going to take that extra little bit of risk? Are you going to grab a little bit of damage on the car and push for a quick result early? Well, one of the small downsides is if you do that, damage your car, you could end up in a similar position to Luke Fit. Fortunately, you're a long way down the order. Push for a move, you push a little bit too aggressively. But hey, now you know where your issues are. Now it takes a little bit of patience. Get yourself back out there, get yourself on the circuit, earn those few spots back, reset yourself, because the least, the thing with the least value to you out of this sprint race is going to pit lane, sitting there and waiting for the endurance race. Get back out on track, even if it's only 2 or 3 spots. That can save you laps off the amount of time it can take you getting through the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. As the battle continues here between Liam Caplice and Lee Harrison, side by side, with Lee in the preferred position here. He should be able to hold on to this one and close this out. And he does just that. Switchback's on. Probably not far enough up to get it done though, so that is 4th position. Lee Harrison moves up into 6th position.
Yeah, what a good move too. Looked pretty. I mean, when you got a Ferrari in that sort of a colour, it does look pretty.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, oh well, look, Liam, I'm sure, will not let this go by any stretch of the imagination as he's trying to reattach himself to the rear end of the car in front. Not going to be close enough up this time. Maybe he just sits there. Maybe he just works his opponent out. You've got to remember, the difference between a qualifying lap and a good racecraft is qualifying, you may have had just all of the best sectors. It's only about 1 lap. Maybe you come across traffic during qualifying laps. Maybe there was just never that really good lap that you were really afterwards. But you know what you can do is sometimes you just settle yourself down after a qualifying effort and you start just turning these really, really comfortable laps, and all of a sudden that guy was 5 tenths faster than you during the qualifying. He's got absolutely nothing on your long run pace.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and so much can be on a grid this big about actually just getting clean air, and you may be way faster and, as you said, get your lap held up. But the drivers that are around you just managed to get that clean lap. As Ben Hoare there gets just up on 2 wheels and manages to hold on to that. So just watching the battle here, this is Phil Auty on screen. Got Derek Auty just behind him in both in obviously simrig.com entries, simrigs.com sponsors of the series. So they well and truly represented here, and these guys currently battling for 14th and 15th outright.
I tell you, I was just watching as well. We were talking about the battle between Liam Caplice and Lee Harrison on the road last time around. Well, Lee come across some lap traffic and unfortunately just tagged the rear end of them. Not sure which way he was going to go, and he did get shuffled in behind Liam Caplice. Now he's got into a little bit of a sticky situation. It looks like Adam Funslow may have missed his braking marker. Just really runs it into the back end of Lee Harrison. Both of them off the road, and both of them shuffling themselves down through the order.
Yeah, there's a fair bit of that going on. A couple of drivers jumping into pit lane. Daniel Webster taking his stop. Guys will need to take on only about 20 litres of fuel to get through to the end of this race. The tank's on the start very low deliberately to ensure that there's a little bit of strategy to go into it.
So a couple guys I'm really looking at this stage. So Lee Harrison actually started in 19th and was up to 6th place. The back end of that last lap before, unfortunately, the worst did happen. Another one that's made a huge amount of positions up is Christopher Henn, as he actually jumps up at the completion of that lap from 18th on the grid to 7th place. But the biggest move by far in this race is actually the driver that started very rear of the field. Andrew Dyson, 40th on the grid, currently sitting inside the top 10. So look what a little bit of patience, self-preservation, whilst also attempting to be aggressive does for you. Opening laps in any race are going to be absolute chaos. He's managed to navigate those successfully, finds himself in the pit lane, and did see his car up on the jacks. Did he take tyres?
Yeah,
that seems incorrect.
Maybe accidentally might have managed to do that there. He was well and truly placed to get out as our...
He might have gotten away with cancelling it as soon as he saw it go up on the jacks and clicked off all but one tyre. So
because it did drop quick, didn't it? So he's back out on track, but we'll keep an eye on his battle and his movement as a lot of the drivers file through now. It looks like he's come out in 10th position, and we'll continue on in another simrigs.com entry.
I'll tell you what, that's the benefit of the simrigs.com brand as well. They've done really good labeling on a lot of the cars, but not just one color, multiple different colored and style liveries. So tell you what, another success story over the last couple seasons has been Luke Turner, and what a pretty BMW it is that he's out and running in this time around. Pretty much all of our lead bunch are actually going to shuffle themselves into pit lane this time past. Jeff Connell, Matty Cardaleone, Luke Turner, Liam Caplice, top 4 on the road, have decided to
make their way.
Drive it down through pit lane. Yeah, hopefully they can keep me awake.
I was just said that there. I thought I'll just quickly jump in and finish a sentence. Andrew Lee is going to close up on these leaders. They are leaving pit lane as we speak, and it looks like Matty Cardaleone may well have got the jump. In fact, he has indeed. That is a change for the lead out of pit lane, and that is as close as you'd want to get, a 10th between them, and both drivers now fighting to regain position number 1. In terms of Jeff Connell, he's had it pretty much to himself so far, so the challenge has been laid down with just over 9 minutes to go.
Changing battery.
One of the benefits of being in what's considered effectively a smaller region in terms of esports and sim racing is that you get to know a lot of the drivers you're actually competing against on a regular basis. Well, if there's somebody who's been out there who's done it multiple times and done it very successfully for an extended period of time, it's Jeff Connell. Well, Matty Cardaleone, he's no slouch himself. He's starting to he's got a lot of experience underneath him now these days, and he's really used that to just jump him in the pit lane. Something else to note, in terms of car choices, one of the cars that's worst on fuel is probably the Ferrari. Then above that, just barely, would be the Mercedes. But the car that's in the GT3 field that is probably the best on fuel is the BMW. So if you're looking to save time and make up positions somewhere, part of your car choices could necessarily come down to a car that you're going to gain 2, 3, 4 spots on alternate manufacturers in the pit lane. And, Cardo has definitely used that to his advantage here.
Yeah, absolutely right. And obviously it helps knowing the regs get released in terms of fuel numbers, so plenty of time spent in the car working that out, exactly when to pit if everything goes to plan. As Connell gets a little wide there, and that'll affect his run as he gets down here to try and maybe get the job done. And he's got a big dive there, just not quite able to get underneath Cardo. Andrew Lee is jogging on the spot in the background as these two battle along. He's 3 seconds further back. Jason Bent behind him. Luke Turner in 5th. We've got Caplice in 6th, Benson 7th, Brady in 8th, Lehman up into 9th, and Christopher Henn is currently in 10th position as Cardo just defends here down into the hairpin. Connell will be looking to get good drive out of the hairpin, which he does, and they will have a drag race here with Connell vehicle in a much better position, but well battled there by Cardaleone. He's held that out there. He's gone real deep, hasn't he?
I mean, he has to. He has to. At the end of the day, if being a series admin, if anything sort of gets protested with his name on it, he kind of doesn't have a choice but to favour the other driver, and that'll be playing on Connell's mind as well. I mean, Connell won't abuse it. Connell's not that kind of driver, not that kind of guy. And generally, he's very honest, very open, and very easy to talk to as well. If you're looking to grab a few tenths here and there, somebody you really want to go and talk to in the sim racing community is definitely Jeff Connell. But Matty, I tell you what, he put the car, though, he didn't even think about trying to take the outside line down into the hairpin off the back straight. Didn't think about it for a moment. Jeff Connell knew that and also tried to do the over-under. He was just about beside him into the braking zone. Now, because he's taking a more narrow zone into the hairpin, Matty has to brake a little bit earlier. That's just, if you're going to do that with that line to get around the corner, that's what you have to do. So, look, Jeff Connell won't be too worried about getting the perfect exit out here. What he wants to do is get himself close enough so he can do the over-under. I can guarantee, not for a moment is Cardo even thinking about using the left-hand side of the road here. He's going to park it on the inside, says, hey, Jeff, if you're going to come around, buddy, you're going to have to make it stick in the acceleration zone here. And I tell you, yep, he's gone too deep this time. This will be Connell's for sure.
And he has indeed. Jeff has jumped up through there at the hairpin. So a good battle there from Cardo, just not quite able to hold him out, but it won't be over here. He will stay as close as he can to the back of Connell in front of him and see if he can make this position up.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, car racing. Anything you do in car racing, there is an equal and opposite reaction. You go a little bit deep in the braking zone, that means you're wide on the middle of the corner, and it means that you're going to suffer for it in corner exit. Now, if you take it nice and easy on corner entry, it means that you're generally looking to maximize your exit. And, well, Cardo gets a little squirrely there. A few moments of brown. Code brown, I think, would definitely be the call you'd be making to his engineer right about now. And unfortunately, you get a little bit squirrely. That's going to allow somebody with the driving talents of Jeff Connell to just disappear up the road.
Which he has now done, the gap out to just on a second. So a good play on strategy there from Cardelloni to get ahead of Connell out of the pits. But Connell has stamped his authority and is now back in the lead. So we'll duck a little bit further back here. We'll have a look at Liam Caplice and Maverick Benson, who are battling away. Ferrari-Mercedes battle here. And Benson's got a great run on him and is going to take that position, move himself up into 6th place. A good run. And there's just some lap traffic there. Daniel Breedy joining in the battle. So this is a 3-way battle here between Benson, Caplice and Breedy for 6th, 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and Brady will just be in the background, just sitting there, just watching this patiently. I tell you what, Sam Lehman's only a couple seconds back up the road as well. And I think out of these three, if I want to be anyone, I want to be Dale Brady. I want to be watching this. So Benson's going to get the job done on Caplice, but now Dale just says, hey, I'll buy into this argument if you don't mind. Thank you very much. What were we talking about before? Compromised entry means compromised exit. And you take it a little bit too deep. So something that I was watching was actually Maverick Benson and the way that he drove it through not turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 complex, trying to get the run off. So he was very deep under braking in turn number 2. That meant he was wide on turn 3. It means he has to get out of the gas a little bit on the exit there of turn 2 and into the entry of turn number 3. It means you'll lose a little bit of momentum, and he made himself vulnerable down at the hairpin. So Liam Caplice not quite able to get the job done there, but I can tell you what, he'll be setting him up for another crack in this time by.
Move a little bit further back in the pack here. We've got Matty Dench, Timothy Orty, Josh Fitt battling. This is for 15th, 16th and 17th. And at the moment, Orty under pressure from Fitt behind him in the Ferrari. This is a all Ferrari affair, so absolutely down to the driver. Albeit the boys get the parity right across this series. It is a fixed series, and a lot of testing goes in to do that, but here it is all driver Ferrari, Ferrari, Ferrari.
Yep, so did some of these guys put a little bit of extra pushing and shoving in that earliest phase of the race? Did they pick themselves up some aero damage? Doesn't look like it when you have a look from that angle. But I believe we're having a look at the battle here between Ben Horry and who was that in the background?
And Bryce Crawford.
So
Just trying to move through because there's a fair few here as well. We've got Nolan and Panton as well, with Jeff Wang from last season, a series veteran, I would say, in Ozpass as well, battling away. This is for 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. There's battles right throughout the field here. But what I've just noticed is absolutely nothing. Jeff Connell still out in front. Matty Cartaglione and Connell were dropping rapidly down the timing charts, and I had assumed incorrectly that perhaps something might have happened up the front, but absolutely not. There's about half a second here between Connell and Cartaglione as we're going to have... going to get through. This will be...
I'd say this would be
probably
the last lap. I'm pretty
Yep.
sure, yeah, they would have gotten the white flag. I'd tell you what, I've just been watching Matty Cartaglione just out of the corner of my eye. Every time I see the front end of that car, the lights on that thing seem to be flashing. Look, Matty, I know you're sly, and I know you're quite a smart and enterprising young chap, but Jeff Connell is one of the smartest drivers you're ever going to come across. If there's somebody who's not going to fall for the old flashing the lights trick, it's Jeff Connell. I think you're wasting a little bit of your time there, buddy.
Maybe he's being friendly. Maybe he's trying to let him know that, something's wrong with the car, or that maybe afterwards catch up for a beer or something like that. Maybe he's just being friendly, give him the old wave.
Look, it's one of my favourite tactics too, so don't get me wrong. But down at my skill level of drivers, a lot more of them fall for it. I think it wasn't Tim Mitchell off the road, whoever it was, they towed out pretty quickly there. So
that's Mario Vartanian who jumped off.
Yeah, Vartanian. I've seen flashes of brilliance from Vartanian. I absolutely have, but a lot of the time I've seen him off the road. And if he can if he can get that sorted out, he's going to be a good driver. There's something there. Maybe he does need to go and have a talk to someone along the likes of Matty Cartaglione or Jeff Connell, as Tim Mitchell takes the option there just to drop in behind these guys and creep over the line. Might have underfueled the car, and he's looking to get that extra lap wiped off the required, just to make sure that he gets home on fuel. Does so successfully, so really good job by him. Great race by both of our first two pairings, Jeff Connell and Matty Cartaglione. Coming home third will be Andrew Lee, so a really good drive from him. I believe he was fourth on the grid, up one spot. Jason Bentz is going to grab 4 spots, 7th on the grid to P4. Luke Turner grabs 1 spot as well. Him and Maverick Benson, they're going to swap positions from where they started on the grid. So I can tell you, if there's anyone that's not going to be too impressed with that, it'd be Maverick Benson.
Absolutely. So, and I must apologise to Dale Breed. I called him Breedy again. It is actually Breed, so apologies there, Dale. But coming home in 8th position, up 6 spots. Sam Lehman up 8 positions into 9th. And Adam Funslow not gaining nor dropping, finishing in 10th where he started. Biggest mover of the pack, 11th position, Andrew Dyson, up 29 spots. A great drive from him. Yeah,
look, I have a feeling that he would say it's probably a couple spots missed out on there, because remember we were talking about the car went up on the jacks?
Yes.
So I'd say he will be not impressed with himself. There was, let's say, if less than 10 seconds ahead of him, he would have been right in the battle between Luke Turner and Maverick Benson's for P5, P6. So a lot left on the table for him. This time out, fingers crossed he gets to that tyre button first and turns those things off. Alternatively, he can be one of those smart drivers and invest in one of those things called a button box and have a button that says turn them all off, please.
Yes, there is a lot that goes into the setup of these cars. So we're just here having a 5-minute interval in between the race that was and the race that will be, which is our 40-minute feature race coming up next. It's a good time for us again to just name drop a few of the partners for this series: Bridgestone Select, Cranbourne, Fountain Gate Roval, HJ Plant Repairs, Simrigs.com, and 93PC.
You said name drop, and I was getting excited. Oh, who's going to be dropping in here? Who are we getting to see? Who are we getting to chat to? No one famous. Calm down, Rankin.
Just us. Just us. That's all that's required.
Stuart Brown! Stuart Brown! He's so famous! He's one of my favourite guys ever! I look forward to commentating with him every time.
Absolutely amazed by it. So we've got 4 minutes here, warm up. A lot of the drivers will use this, particularly those, I think Scotty might have mentioned it during the stream, that might have had a bad run in race 1, be looking to just...
Shake it off.
Yeah, that's it. Reassure themselves, get back out on the track. Hayden Jackson's the first who's jumped out, so we'll put the stream on him for the minute. And just make sure that they're, back getting their lines, getting their eyes right. Maybe they found that in the congestion, which does catch some drivers out, that they might not have been quite able to see their brake marker. Just adjusting the way that they're going to get things done as we head into race 2. It is a reverse grid top 15 second race, I believe. I couldn't quite confirm that.
Yes, it is.
Beautiful.
Yes, it is.
So that will happen as well. So the top 15 drivers will be reversed from our last race. So what we'll do now, just to grab a quick little sneak peek of that actually, is we'll bring up the results from Heat 1, which we can, and have a quick look at those on the screen. So what that's going to mean is that Matty Dench is going to start on pole position, and Richard Brookfield will be on the front row and next to him. So those drivers, particularly Andrew Dyson, who had such a big uplift in their position, are really getting a good free kick here, and a payoff for the hard work they put in race 1 to make such good progress. So again, Scotty was talking about it during the early part of the commentary that they may have just had a really difficult qualifying session, and that's put them further down the pack. So that patience and hard work will be rewarded as they get to jump up to the front and try and take the race to the other drivers. I know Dale Breed last week had an opportunity like that and ran right with it right to the end of the race.
So I was just having a quick look through in the intermission in between, and I mentioned that Andrew Dyson actually started from the rear of the field last time out. I just had a quick look. Both of his qualifying laps, we only attempted to put in 2 qualifying laps. Both of them were blanked out. So normally when I say you attempted to put in 2 qualifying laps, both of them were blanked out. I'm talking when you jump into an official session, you get 2 qualifying laps, take your best one, you get the off tracks, you get the incident points whatsoever, they get voided. So what you're looking for is generally going for that banker lap. You're looking to just get one laid down. So that did force him to start from the rear of the grid. He was one of the fastest guys in terms of practice. He was the gold standard. He was the only driver to get down to the 137. So for him to be finishing off in 11th at the back end of that first race, you won't be happy with that whatsoever. That is a lot of missed opportunities and a lot of missed points. Then he messes up his pit stop. So one of these drivers that definitely needs to get back out there, needs to shake things off, get up and walk away from the sim. If I'm in his position, I'd do exactly that. I'd get up, I walk away. Stuart would have known this because I think I talked about this at some point last year. When I originally got into endurance racing, I went and had a chat to my psychologist and said, look, I'm definitely having issues towards the back end of, say, like a 2-hour driving stint, and definitely in the middle of the night, if I'm having to get in the car, what's one of the best things? She said, stay away from coffee. First and foremost, if you're looking to do endurance racing, what coffee's going to do? Energy drinks are exactly the same. Sugar highs, you're experiencing some of that. It's a quick fix. It is just that. You're going to get 15 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour. It depends on who you are, depends how you react. Then after that, you're just going to fall off a cliff. Unless you can keep yourself topped up with coffee. Now, if you're in the car and you're not lucky enough to have a partner who calls herself your pit crew, as I'm actually in a unique position to say that my wife can do that, then you're going to fall off that cliff. So one of the best things you can do, eat something, I believe it's the low GI style stuff, maybe a couple of slices of toast with some Nutella on it, a lot of nuts and that sort of thing, little snacky bits and pieces right next to you. Make sure you don't dive into them too much because I get bored and I start just fistful of nuts and chips and those sorts of things and shoveling them down. The other thing you can do, and that's what I'd be recommending to these guys, get up, have a walk around, maybe do some push-ups, and splash some cold water on your face. If you have the option, go and have a very brief 30-second run in the shower.
Yep.
Cold shower, not a hot shower. You want a cold shower. Cold shower, cold conditions, and something if you can do in your sim room, a cold room. Why? Because a cold room helps keep you more awake and more alert. These guys have just done a 20-minute stint. That is hot, heavy. Driving in a field of 40 cars, we saw a lot of accidents. You need to reset. You're going to jump out, cold face washer, wipe it down your face, readjust that fan, make sure you've got some really good airflow, make sure your sim room is nice and cool, got that airflow that you need to, because it's time to go again. I tell you what, with how tight, and there was multiple 3-wide scenarios in the first lap last time out, these guys have got to keep in the back of their minds, this is a 40-minute race. I've got to look after this car now. So,
yeah, absolutely. Some seldom parted with knowledge, but great tips for when you're running in a short or multiple race scenario, and particularly when the longer stuff comes on. That's why you see
this format.
such...
I absolutely love it. This, honest to God, this is my favorite format in terms of racing: a sprint race and then a longer race, because it tests. You can't just be good at one or the other. You have to be good at both, or you have to find a way of minimizing the mistakes in the one that you're not good at, and just sort of lessening those risks.
So I'm just going to very, very quickly show you the grid here. We will only stick to the front page because it is a short warm-up lap, and of course it's taken us right to the back. But let's go right back to the start here and have a look at our starting grid. So it is Matty Dench, Richard Brookfield, we've got Christopher Henley, Harrison, Andrew Dyson, Adam Funzlo, Sam Lehman, Dale Breed. We've got Liam Caplice, Maverick Benson rounding out our top 10, Luke Turner and Jason Bentz there at the top of the first 6 rows. It is an absolute field and a half here as the pace car pulls in. It is going to be Richard Brookfield who leads us away in this one. We're wanting everyone to get through safe as we get this 40-minute race started for Ozpass.
Is that a black flag for the car on the outside? I have a feeling... No, okay, so the outside was actually the position number 1. I had a distinct feeling then that the car on the inside was actually going to be your pole position sitter, and if that was the case, the car that was actually on the outside line was ahead. That's a black flag in iRacing. If you do that before the restart zone, if you're in second place on the grid, meaning you're on the outside of the front row, that's a black flag. So something that those drivers were aware of. I wasn't actually aware that Hockenheim pole position's on the outside run into the first corner.
We're just going to keep up and see if everyone does make their way through here. These faster cars from the front of the field last time, as we're going to be 3 wide into the braking zone, into the hairpin. That number will not work. You see the huge close up there, and some great braking techniques from those drivers to not cause a huge pile up at the hairpin. Everyone looks like, oh no, there's a little bit of tabbing there, and around goes Luke Fit. Phil already caught up in that one as well. So 40 minutes here, they'll be looking to recover that on this first lap. But very important for everyone to try and make their way through and realise how long the time is here. Not a lot of room given there by Tim Mitchell either. And a big dive back underneath Tim Mitchell by Joel Gray. Still going to make that position back up. So really, really tight at the start here, as you would expect. A lot of positions changing. And what I was going to say before all of that was the drivers that were up the front finished first and second. So Matty Cartaleone, Jeff Connell, got to be really careful and patient here. It's a long 40-minute run, and they've got the pace potentially to beat the cars that are in front of them. And if they're a little impatient, they could be in for a tough race.
Yep, that's it. Remember, we were just talking about looking after those cars as best as you possibly can. That's what these drivers need to do. Well, one of the guys that unfortunately got messed up in somebody else's business in the last race was Lee Harrison. He's going to take the early opportunity to jump out, stretch the legs out in front. If you want to keep the car clean, that is definitely one of the best ways you can do it. Right now, we're going to be at Ferrari, BMW, Ferrari, Mercedes, BMW, Mercedes, Ferraris. So again, that blend of different cars and different manufacturers right throughout the top 10 has just continued on its way. I tell you what, the lights start to come on because the light itself around the track starting to get that little bit of dark to it, and as this race progresses, we're going to get that little bit later and a little bit later. 7:40 currently in sim time, so the sun is starting to set.
And Maverick Benson there with a huge dive under brakes, quite successful for him. Just going to point out as well that Jeff Connell into pit lane on lap 1.
I don't know if that's a scheduled stop for him, if he can get home from this point in time. Maybe some fuel saving required, but we'll go back and have a quick look at him if I can. I'll keep my eyes out on that and give you an update as soon as I have it.
So he is back out of pit lane. Just looking at the pit time there as well. It was only 13 seconds, so I don't know if potentially it's a stop-go.
It's scheduled.
Scheduled stop.
I mean, stop-goes, if it was a stop-go, he was static in pit lane, so he's definitely taken on fuel. What he's trying to do is just buy himself a little bit of that clear track that we were talking about. One of the best ways to make overtakes is not to have to make overtakes.
Yeah, absolutely. The undercut there will be a big play, so we'll keep an eye on him throughout the race. Of course, as we get through this one, just 4 minutes in, James Wilkins there has had an incident as well, so he is back off the track. And we might now jump in and just waiting for the timing monitor to catch itself back up. after the shuffle. We'll get back on with our race leader.
Yeah, so it's going to be Lee Harrison, chased down by Richard Brookfields. So down to the hairpin once more. You see the lead cars all starting to stretch themselves out a little bit. Those gaps starting to form. Don't forget, guys that finished inside that top 15 are actually going to be in a reverse grid style format. One of the drivers who's made a lot of moves on the opening couple of laps is actually going to be Liam Caplice. Andrew Dyson up from 5th into 3rd. So Liam Caplice was from 9th on the grid up to 4th. Lee Harrison started 4th on the grid up to 1st. Richard Brookfield's gone absolutely nowhere. 2nd on the grid, 2nd on the track.
Driver that you did mention early on in the feed is Mario Vartanian, and he is up 16 places now into 21st. So for him, all about consistency, as Jeff Wang's crashed up in front here. Fortunately, down on the inside wall, probably got a little wide there on the strip, and turned that one right onto the infield inside wall, so he has jumped out.
So interesting to note tonight, guys, as well, is that it's 17 X's. So those of you who are new to iRacing and off-track will net you 1X. Very, very light contact with another car or just brushing the wall will net you a 0X. In most cases, that's not going to be the case, though. You're going to get a 2X for that. And then heavy contact with another car or the wall is going to net you a 4X. You get 17 of those X's. That's going to net you a drive-through penalty. After that, you're going to need to keep it below 9 incident points, or else it's going to net you another drive-through penalty. No disqualification limit tonight, just every 9 incident points you're going to have to do a drive-through. And if my eyes don't deceive me, I've seen a lot of wheels that are just running in, what would you call them, outside of track zones so far this evening. So I have a fair idea that there might be some drivers who are pushing up on towards that 17 incident point limit. And I'm not 100% sure if that incident point limit resets between the heats. So
yeah, it's an interesting point. A lot of the time, I don't believe that it does. I believe it's cumulative, but we'll
that's
wait
what I thought
and
as well,
see.
Yeah.
As Dale Breed here is at the front of a train himself, Luke Turner. We've got Maverick Benson in close proximity. Then Phil Audie, Josh Fitt, and Matty Carleone in the next grouping. So you can just see them all flying through there. Dale, very, very experienced race driver in real life, plenty of V8 supercar experience as well, so he knows his way around a race car and will be used to driving in conditions such as these where it is very, very close.
Just having a look actually at Matty Dench, who was our pole sitter for this one, beneficiary of the reverse top 15. He's back in 31st position. He actually hasn't filed through the pit lane, so that one's a little bit curious to me. Obviously, he's found himself off the road at some point in the early exchanges. Unfortunate for him. I've run quite a few races with Matty, and he's one of those guys that just sort of, he really likes to push those boundaries of other drivers. And unfortunately, when you've got 40 cars trying to work themselves around a track like this, sometimes you can find yourself coming unstuck. He's found himself in a little bit of a hole where he is now. So his goal for probably the next 5 or 10 laps is going to be just to settle in, turn those laps, pop out, have a look at the strategy. He hasn't made down pit road yet, so he will have to do that at some point in the future.
Few drivers are jumping through already, so I feel like we are in that pit window. 32 minutes to go, so they'll fill up and be able to run this to the end. So do start with a minimum amount of fuel, but there is no cap on the tanks, so they are able to fill to run to the end.
Yeah, look, in that case, Jeff Connell's strategy, I definitely think that he's one of the best positioned cars. One of the drivers that has opted to cover off the undercut, which is another one of those really, really good strategies to do when you think you're at risk, as Lee Harrison has done. Covered him off. Lap 4, he was in the lead. He's cycled through the pit lane. He knows that he was a little bit further up the field than a few of these drivers, and he was starting to potentially run away at the front. He could have even started to potentially been caught by another driver. So in that case, whenever an overtaking move is thrown, you're going to lose time to having to block that overtaking move off. If that means you have to ride around the outside of a corner and drive away from somebody, you're going to lose those precious tenths of a second. Obviously, somebody was trying to fight him, didn't want to have to deal with that. Cycles through pit lane. Now he'll have to start working his way from the rear end of the field upwards again.
Absolutely, and sorry, I do correct myself, there is actually a fuel tank limit this season. That did not exist last season, so there will be a little bit of fuel management to do on his behalf, but that's still very much, I think, the strategy that he's playing.
Yeah, and Jeff Connell will know, like I was talking about, one of the most experienced sim racers and guys on any grid that you're ever likely to come across. So he'll know his fuel number, he'll know his fuel target. He's very, very good at working that sort of stuff out very quickly, and he'll make the adjustments that he needs to. If there's a battle that he doesn't need to be a part of, he won't even think about putting himself down in that. Look, he's probably capable of running faster than a fair portion of the grid whilst in a fuel saving mode, and if he's able to do that in the clear air rather than being forced offline, having to block other people behind you, and the risk management that comes with other cars, it could end up being one of the best strategies available to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Already up to 10th position as we start to see more of the drivers cycle through now. We've had all bar around 10 of the field make the required pit stop for the race, so he back up to 10th position, some clear air now. He's about 5 seconds behind Phil Audie, having just made his way past Lee Harrison, who of course did pit after him. So that clear air strategy that he's running is so far working its magic for Connell.
Yeah, look, I'm just having a quick look at a few guys now starting to cycle their way through the pits. So Dyson was in the race lead. Will be interesting to see where he pops out. Remember, very, very quick. Attempted to run a 1:37 during qualifying, didn't pull it off, had to shuffle his way through the field during our sprint race this evening. He's going to be a very quick entrant, and I have a feeling that he will have run that tank out to the absolute maximum that he possibly could have. Liam Caplice in behind him, Cardo, Turner, Crawford, Audie, Derek Audie that is. Richard Brookfield is actually going to be the first driver that's actually still out on the track at this point in time. A few of the drivers starting to exit pit lane. Got my eyes on Dyson. Dyson comes through. So Jeff Connell's actually inherited the race lead.
In the lead with clean air now. He's got Lee Harrison behind him who has stopped, and Richard Brookfield who has stopped as well. So that last cycle of stops has completed itself, and Connell now already half a second to the good in front. Perhaps, as you say, if he can build up a lead big enough, he can manage the fuel to the back end of the race, and with his pace ahead of the field, probably going to be able to do that and still drive a little conservatively.
Yeah, well, look, I was just having a look at his last time around. He did a 1:38.1, so there's zero saving going on from Connell at this point in time.
Absolutely.
If he is saving, it'll be in one or two zones around the track. So I personally, I don't think he is right now, but it's something I'll have to keep an eye on as well. Richard Brookfield, I'm honestly really, really impressed by some of the drivers, how they've managed this reverse grid. Some of the drivers that made the biggest benefit, of course, are right now up at the pointy end. So Matty Dench, after cycling through pit lane, has popped back out in, by the looks of things, I think it's P9 out on the track, potentially. So he's done a really good job. No, is that P28? Okay.
Unfortunately, yeah, he cycled right the way through. Yeah, he's pitted twice, so we didn't catch what happened to him early on in the race there, which has caught us out a little bit, but he has pit twice now.
Yep, so he's cycled through, so he's back in 28, so he'll be ruining lost opportunities coming out of this one. Lee Harrison starting to... Sorry, no, he settled back into P2, so as soon as the drivers run through... Look, unfortunately, one of the things with the iRacing timing is that it gives you the last time that they passed the stripe where they were sitting at in that point in time. So I was looking at Lee Harrison going, this guy's all the way down, what, 9th, 10th position, something like that? No, it's actually out in second on track, so... Revised running order at this point in time: Connell, Harrison, Brookfield, Dyson, Funslow, Andrew Lee, Maverick Benson, Dale Breed, Christopher Henn, Luke Turner, Joshua Fitt, Matty Cardaleone, and Timothy Audie. So something's happened to Cardo throughout there. Joshua Fitt has not had a great night so far, but he's still in front of Matty Cardaleone. So a good second outing for him so far this evening. And I'll tell you what, Stuart, we've got about 37-ish minutes before we're going to see that checkered flag fly, so there's still a lot of racing left in the books.
Yeah, absolutely indeed. So about 27 to go here, as you said, so it's very, very close for Connell, we think, on fuel, but if anyone's going to run that strategy, he will there. I was just cycling through the battles while you were talking about it. This one here between Dyson, Brookfield and Funslow is very, very close indeed, as you can see there. So Dyson having moved up one spot this lap into third position. So we scoot a little bit further back down the field, and there is a battle.
Just heard in the background, Daniel Webster was complaining on the radio about something happening, so he's actually back in the pits, and I'd say his night's done.
Let's jump back.
Incident coming into the hairpin, so...
We can jump back very quickly and have a look at that. I'm going to say, without prejudice, that maybe Corey Nolan involved in that. Yeah, indeed he was. So, no idea what's happened there, but the car's just suddenly jagged to the right and has destroyed Daniel Webster's Ferrari. That's got a big repair bill on it, and as you say, that's going to have destroyed the remainder of his evening.
Just having a look at it, Daniel Webster got a really big run on Corey, got around him on the straight, went to position himself down the inside, and it looks like Corey might have just either missed his braking marker or Webster's had, which Webster was quite rightly really tight on the inside of that corner. Had to apply the anchors a little bit sooner than Nolan may have been thinking, and I have a very good feeling that he's going to have some some questions posed to him by the stewards.
Yes, I think that might be the case indeed. A very good steward system here that they run as well, so that'll get adjudicated on by 4 or 5 different heads. But yeah, I'd say that he might be in a little bit of trouble as we jump back to Aaron Oliver and Hayden Jackson, currently running 19th and 20th. Battle here close between these two, both returning this week. Hayden ran last week as well, so we've got 19th and 20th position, about half a second between the two, both having completed their pit stops.
Yeah, really good job by these guys. Another battle I'm just sort of keeping my eyes on as well. Josh Fitt in Ferrari is sitting right underneath the rear wing of Luke Turner's BMW. Matty Carlione, conversely, is run underneath his rear wing, and just in the background of them is Tim Audi. So this is a 4-way battle. It looks like it's been on and on and on for multiple laps. None of these guys can really seem to find an edge. So BMW, remember, is going to love to stretch its legs in a straight line. That seems to be where it's strongest. The Ferrari turns quite nicely, and the Mercedes just does Mercedes things. We haven't figured out what those are yet.
Well, you know, they go round and they turn and stuff. They've got wheels.
Has probably the sexiest sounding engine in the field, bar the
Very
Lamborghini,
true.
but
Very true.
the Lamborghini's not available, so if you were looking for the most interesting engine note, that would be a very good reason to select the Mercedes. You
Yeah,
love what you do, right?
not necessarily conducive to being the fastest, but if you're not going to win, you might as well sound cool.
Ask Jeff Connell, though, because he's leading the field in Mercedes, so he says exactly the opposite. Maybe I'll have to ask him for tips on how to drive the thing.
He wants to do both.
Look cool and have fun doing it.
Look cool and have fun doing it. Sounds perfect. Carlione here is just keeping the pressure on the back of Josh Fitt. Not able really to do too much at the moment with the traffic around them. Luke Turner is defending quite well as well. So, in fact, just skipping away a little bit from Fitt. So that puts him into the regions of Christopher Henn in front of him in the Ferrari. So this 4 or 5 car battle here, all for position, 7 through 11th. So they
so I can tell you, just had a quick look at the lap times right between the group of them. All 3 of them, all 5 of these guys, with the exception of Timothy Audi, who are actually on their last time by the stripe, we'll get an update here in a moment, were within 0.2 of each other. All 5 of these guys. So obviously, the aero wake is having a big effect on Matty Carlione's pace, because he was keeping right up there with Jeff Connell in the last race, not quite able to keep pace with him this time.
Indeed. Just trying to get a good look at the entire battle here. So they head down towards the hairpin. I don't think anyone's really going to be in a position at the moment to do anything about it. Plenty of movement, but no one really too far up enough. Oh, there's Fitt, locks a little bit, just trying to pull the Ferrari up behind Matty Carlione, and he's done a great job to get that turn in, and he will jump on, and off he goes up the straight, just trying to get on board there with him.
He's just boxed out, isn't he? Because he's stuck in behind Josh Fitt. Audi was thinking about sending it, and Fitt then thought second of it. He's going to have Carlione in his rearview mirror. Not happy about that one. He's had the move thrown on him. Now, Matty Carleone is the one running at the back of this pack. Normally, again, I'm one of these guys that likes to run around at the back of these packs because you never know what you're going to get. What it has allowed, Christopher Hen and Luke Turner have grabbed themselves half a second at lead of this battle pack, which is interesting because when you think about it, the guy that should be the most under threat in this battle pack should be Timothy Audie, but Fit has not had the cleanest run through that middle sector, which is the only reason that Timothy Audie's riding his rear fender.
Absolutely a really, really good move there from Audi. Managed to get it pulled up, turned in, and positioned the Ferrari very well. Used the traffic around him to his advantage. Completely acceptable and great driving.
Yep, that's it. And they're going to have lap traffic here to work with as well. Corey Nolan's just in front of these groups. Christopher Hen sitting it down the inside, trying to hold off the fast-charging Luke Turner that's alongside of him. Turner gets in the gas and just gets it done. And Nolan's done a great job with letting those guys by right there. But all of a sudden, they get onto the straight, and the guy that's got the biggest benefit here is actually Christopher Hen, who's on the outside of the corner. So the Ferrari of Christopher Hen stretching its legs. Can he send it around the outside now as Luke Turner? And look, Joshua Fit wanting to buy his way into this battle. Gets alongside. He's going to have a very compromised exit. Now it is going to be Timothy Audie who looks at the rear end of the red and white Ferrari with his own SimRigs.com livery, not quite able to get it done. Now Joshua Fit very deep under braking, pulls it up nicely. So, well, I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, the closing stages of this one, well, closing stages, we're at the halfway mark, and all of a sudden kitchen sinks have been thrown at this.
Absolutely, and Luke Turner as well. Having to get drawn into this. Christopher Hen just managing to make a little bit of space. A big push under brakes here on the Ferrari. And just pulling it up there, Fit not quite able to get the job done on Luke Turner, but he's putting plenty of pressure on the back of that BMW, and this is giving us a really, really good indication of the strengths and weaknesses of these cars as they make their way around to complete another lap. Just over 19 minutes to go here.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, everyone in that battle pack, with the exception of Christopher Hen, got unstable in the last sector. Now Hen runs it wide at turn number 1. So he's going to get 1x for that one. That is buying himself closer and closer and closer into that drive-through. Fit, once again, goes defensive down into turn number 2. They'll flick back, get the power down, and look to go as fast as they possibly can down this straight. Now the guy who was, you would think, looking the most able to make a move would have been Matty Carleone. I think Christopher Hen got a slowdown penalty. He's had to serve it, and all of a sudden Luke Turner's blown by, and he's going to have a few more in his mirror. 3 wide of the hairpin, down the inside, doesn't quite pull it up. Oh no, Timothy Audie thought he was on, and for all money, and unfortunately he's lost a lot of spots in the bargain, but who's lost even more? Christopher Hen.
Matty Carleone, the biggest benefit of that, moves up 2 positions. He's going to join this battle as we're on board with Joshua Fit as he tries to get past Luke Turner, just not able to quite stay with him. And with what's transpired, we've had a shuffle in this battle, this 5-way battle for places 8th through 11th.
Yeah, so let's get your readjusted order in this little battle pack. It's Turner, Fit, Carleone, Audie, Christopher Hen. So Audie has gone from second last of this battle pack to second last of this battle pack. Matty Carleone's jumped up 2 spots, and he's now sitting 3rd in the running order. And all of a sudden, as well, just in the background of Christopher Hen, it's going to be another car buying their way into this battle pack as well. Bryce Crawford. And I tell you what, the guy that's sitting here laughing about the whole business is actually going to be Andrew Lee. He's suddenly disappeared 7 seconds up the road. So it's going to take a miracle for this group of 6 cars to even think about contesting him, I think, at the back end of this race now.
Absolutely, and what it's done is allowed Andrew Lee not only to skip off into the distance, but to close up on Maverick Benson, currently running in 6th position, just half a second, in fact less than that now between those two. And there is a battle on as well for 4th place between Richard Brookfield and Adam Funslow, with again about half a second between them. So battles, as we have been seeing through both races, right throughout the pack.
And I'm just looking at Lee Harris and Andrew Dyson. That one's on for all money as well. Andrew Dyson in the SimRigs.com Ferrari.
Timothy Audie had another big dive there, just not quite able to get under Cardo, and he's dropped again behind Christopher Hen. So another change in this little battle.
Yep, Joshua Fit. Still's trying to sit right up at the front end of this thing. Bryce Crawford, all of a sudden we've dropped him off the rear end of this battle pack.
Ducked into pit lane.
There you go. So 2 stops required to go the distance in this one. And Crawford says, you know what? I'm not making anything up sitting in behind these guys. Let's get that service done and see what we can do with the back end of this race. Alternatively, may have picked himself up a drive-through.
With the incident limit potentially out of that battle, absolutely. So this one here, just taking a little bit of a breather, which the drivers will be enjoying, albeit some of them will be frustrated with the outcome of this battle pack. Let's jump around the field a bit here. We will jump on with Andrew Lee, who has got Maverick Benson right behind him. Half a second there. Have a quick look further up the field just to see if there's anything going on here. You did just see in the bottom of your picture there was a Richard Brookfield, my apologies, and Adam Funslow in their battle. So some drivers here cycling through
just
pit
keeping
lane.
an eye on it. Actually, can we have a look at Lee Harrison and Andrew Dyson? Because I can tell you that Dyson is just been sending it up the inside of Lee Harrison, and I think he's got that move done successfully at the hairpin. Yes. Now,
Absolutely.
Keep your eyes in the background here, because I was keeping an eye on the lap times. I have a feeling that even though Brookfield and Funslow are battling, they might start to close up on the rear wing of Lee Harrison in the coming laps too.
They were, in fact, quicker, as you are suggesting, so that is very, very much a possibility. 2 seconds, the gap now. They are running together, as are Dyson and Harrison, so don't really know where to look at the moment. Luke Turner, Josh Fitz still battling away. There's been a little bit of calm in the storm a little bit further back than from them. We've got Vartanian and Derek Orty battling away. That is as the system adjusts for 16th and 17th position. Even right back as far as 22nd, 23rd, there's less than half a second between Edwards and Phil Orty. So it is a full-on grid as our race leader, Jeff Connell, jumps down pit lane.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just spotted in my adjusted running order as well. So 2 stops is the requirement to go the distance so far this evening. Connell would have come in early, grabbed as much fuel as he possibly can, and run as long as he possibly can on this middle stint before making that short splash and dash at the end. So expect cars in pit lane in the next couple of laps. So 10 to 14 laps appears to be the length of time that drivers can really run in terms of maximum fuel distance. Well, a few drivers have now served their second stop. They'll shuffle themselves down the running order, but then all of a sudden, I'll get shuffled back ahead. So I was just looking, so who were we looking for at the back of that battle pack? Was Bryce Crawford, I think it was. So I'm just going to try and keep my eyes on him. He's just come past the line once more in an adjusted running order as P16. No, sorry, that's Sam Lehman. So Bryce Crawford in P15. Sam Lehman P16. Both of those drivers have served their second and final stop. Mansell also completed his final stop. Luke Fitz. Something's happened to him. Was it Luke Fitz we were talking about moments ago? No, it was Joshua Fitz.
Correct, yeah, Joshua Fitz. So he is still battling away with Luke Turner. Just here coming through. Looking for a dive down the inside, not quite able to get that done there. So these drivers still needing to make a stop. Roughly everyone, with about the exception of our top 15 or so cars at this stage, have jumped into pit lane, and that's not based on order when they jumped in. We've got around 15 cars remaining to make that second stop, so the things will keep changing here. What we are looking for really is where does Jeff Connell come out in all of this, currently having served his second pit stop sitting in 12th position, and he actually is our leading, as you'd expect, driver that has completed both pit stops.
I was just looking, something happened. So Hen fell off the back end of that battle pack and slowly has just been drifting further and further afield. I have a feeling Matty Cardiglione is actually in a fuel conservation mode. If he might be trying to go to the end of the race, because he would have seen for sure that Jeff Connell came in, and he stopped
very much
on lap 7. So he's looking at a one-stop strategy.
Very much saving there, off the gas at around about 175 metres into the hairpin and just coasting. So spot on, well picked.
Well, you just have a look at the pace, and we know that Cardo is capable of absolutely searing hot laps. when and where he wants to. That was Liam Capice that was just shuffling himself behind there. I was wondering if that was for position. It actually wasn't for position. So Kato is capable of those searingly quick laps, and he was caught up in that battle pack. And one of the best possible things that you can really do when you're caught in that sort of a situation and opportunities aren't really presenting themselves is you just roll out of the throttle. It's an opportunity that presents itself in terms of fuel mileage, and if Kato can go the distance tonight, he'll split line honours with Jeff Connell, and from memory, the second race is worth extra points compared to the first one.
Spot on, as Lee Harrison and Maverick Benson jump in. Kato did try this last week at Phillip Island. He ran out of fuel on the last lap, just getting caught out as the race leader crossed the line with about 10 seconds to go to force another lap. So he will have that fresh on his mind, but might be rolling the dice, understanding that it's his best strategy to get himself onto the podium.
Well, I'm just having a look. There's 12 and a little bit seconds between himself and Jeff Connell. Connell was 1.3 seconds faster than him on that lap, and there's 10 minutes left. And a lap around here, we're looking at 1 minute and 40 seconds, so there's going to be around 10 laps to go. It's going to be right on the money in terms of being able to catch him. So if Kato will be the lead car when that pit strategy cycles itself completely and utterly through. So he'll be in charge of when that last lap sort of begins, in essence, but he's only got a 10-second margin. So if he can see that he's going to cross that line, there's going to be 5 seconds left on the clock, you can say for sure he'll get out of it with about, he'll make sure that he crosses the line and grabs that white flag. But if there's a little bit more than that that's required, he's not got much wiggle room in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Richard Brookfield jumps into pit lane. Jason Bent, I believe, has done the same. Jeff Wang finished his pit stop. Andrew Lee, Josh Fitt now jumping into pit lane. So the only drivers now in front of Kato in terms of seeing if that fuel play works for him, Dyson, Funslow and Turner.
Yeah, and I say Turner, I have a feeling Turner probably should have pit a little bit earlier, because he would have gotten away from that little gathering or gaggle of cars that was behind him, run some clean laps. The guy that really benefited from that pit cycle was actually Joshua Fitt, because as soon as you took that pressure off of his rear wing, he was able to run his own laps, get out there and not have to worry about having to go deep into each and every corner, and his focus was purely on what was in front of him rather than looking in the rear view mirror at the Carleone BMW. And will he benefit from it? Just having a look. He's going to come out just in front of Vartanian. He's going to come out right behind Sam Lehman, who's completed his final stop as well. So he's lost quite a few spots here. Bryce Crawford actually jumps him in the pit strategy. So unfortunately, that roll of the dice hasn't gone all Josh Fitt's way. And, well, best of luck to him in trying to make these last few positions up, because Sam Lehman's only 1 second up the road of him. He's got Vartanian only under 2 seconds behind him. Luke Fitt, so the other of the Fitt boys, is only just behind him, but Luke will have another stop left to go unless he's also in fuel-saving mode. So I love it. We love the crazy last 15 minutes, don't we, Stuart?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's plenty left here, as you say. We've got about 7.5 to go.
Funslow's in pit lane.
So it's going to get crazy now. That moves Carleone up to third. Still got Turner and Dyson in front of him. And what that does is bring Jeff Connell up behind Matty Carleone as well. So this is playing out as we expected. Question is, how long can Matty manage the gap back to Jeff Connell? He's got just on 12 seconds, 7 minutes to go here. So we're looking at around about 5 laps left. So he's going to have to stretch that fuel as long as he can and see if this strategy can play out for him.
Well, this week, he's going to have a few other cars that are going along with him and attempting to make it work. Dyson had to start from the rear of the grid after showing a real turn of pace in in practice, unable to replicate it in qualifying, and he's had to do the hard charge right through the field. He's led quite a few laps now since the last round of pit stops have cycled themselves through. Jeff Connell really looking to make headway in terms of things. Actually, I'm just having a look as Dyson's actually going to dive down pit lane. Carleone's pace has slowly been creeping back upwards again, which makes me think he's not safe in terms of fuel, and well, he's got to go for it now. He doesn't have any choice. Maybe
he's just seeing Connell repaying that headlight flashing, albeit there's a huge gap between them. He'll be able to feel him doing it from 10 seconds back to let him know he's on his way. So,
alternatively, the other side of the coin is entirely possible that he's saved more than enough fuel, and now he's gone, you know what? Let's fire up the afterburners, shall we?
We'll jump on the back of Carleone's car here, have a bit of a listen as he'll start to make the run down towards the hairpin. So last time we were on board with him doing this, he was off the gas at around about 175 metres into the corner. So let's have a listen.
No, that is some definite fuel saving. So he's not home yet. He might be the beneficiary of a few other cars starting to slow. Connell was 0.3 seconds faster than him on the last lap, and Turner is only just in front of him as well. So we're starting to get the benefit of a little bit of draft assistance from Luke Turner. Now, Turner pit on lap 6. That says to me that if there's an extra lap here in the tank, he might be safe as well. But I don't know the fuel burn around Hockenheim. I can't really help you in terms of exact lap numbers. So it could be that Matty Carleone, after rolling the dice last weekend and finding snake eyes on the other side of them, has found somebody else willing to roll them along with him in Luke Turner.
I just put up this pit window on the screen.
Nope, Turner's in.
And he is indeed. So, just having a look here at Dyson and Connell. Dyson's fueled to the end and is certainly under no obligation to let Jeff Connell by. The longer Connell has to fight to get past Andrew Dyson, who is fueled well and truly to the end of this race, then the better it is for Cardo with 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, I tell you what, Carter will be aware of this as well, so I have a feeling it might be in Connell's best interests just to let this one go. Well, he's only got 4 minutes left in the race, hasn't he? So it's not as if he has any sort of...
It's a big gap.
Yeah, there's no amount of time that's sort of left for him to really... wait. He can't be patient because the required pace to get up on... If Carleone's good on fuel, he's locked in now. So it's between... The only battle that we can really watch is between Dyson and Connell. So... But that all, again, relies on the fact that Carleone is good on fuel.
That's really...
He's not heavily saving. So that says to me Matty Carleone knows his number and he's driven to it for more than long enough.
I was going to say, spot on. He knows now that he's basically got 2 laps to go from here to get that one home. Connell is not going to make up 10 seconds in that time and will continue this battle here with Dyson for second position. So really only a mistake or running out of fuel.
Carleone's in. So he's abandoned that one.
Strategy hasn't quite played out. So this is for the lead of the race now. He's only going to need a splash and dash, Carleone, but he's not going to get back out in front with only a 10-second gap back to Dyson. So Dyson now, Connell assume the battle here for first and second. 2 minutes 30 to go. Nothing like a close fit. Oh, as Connell is gone, he has spun and he has hit the wall on the inside at the exit of pit lane, and that has handed it to Andrew Dyson. Connell's managed to pluck that one back out of the wall and get himself back in front of Richard Brookfield. He had enough of a margin, but he's now under pressure from Brookfield and Funslow in the battle for second position. An uncharacteristic mistake there from Connell at the end of this race.
Yeah, very, very Jeff Connell-esque But I tell you what, just having a look at I was lucky enough to actually get on board with that Mercedes. It still takes damage in nearly the same way as it always has done. So never change, Mercedes, never change. It looks all banged up. You can't see very much out of the driver's perspective, and you can't see very much out of the roll bar perspective either, because that one crosses right through where there's a camera placed.
Yeah, it wasn't good that one, but we've got on board his helmet here, so you can just see there the bonnet sitting up on the right hand side, and in the rear view mirror, if you look at that in the center of your screen, there are headlights moving around all over behind Connell here, as Brookfield is just 8/10 behind him.
Yeah, very on Jeff Connell-like error brings a few extra players into the game. Maverick Benson has driven a phenomenal race to have himself sitting in P5 at the back end of this one. He'll be 2.5 seconds off the rear end of Adam Funslow, and he'll have a 3-second margin to Matt Carleone. So I'm just having a look. Where has Carleone popped himself out into? Luke Turner's only a second behind him. So Turner's played himself right into this race, but because of the extra fuel that Carleone saved, he's actually jumped him in the pit strategy. So
very, very quickly, just giving a little bit of a highlight to this man who you focused on in race 1, consistency, the king, driving well. Mario Vartanian managed to make it up 25 positions in this race, currently running in 12th, battling with Jason Bent for that position.
Yeah, he did a 1:39 exactly dead even on that last lap around. It's not very often you get to see that .000 in lap times, but 1:39.000 the time for Mario Vartanian, and that's it. Look, if you're going to get into sim racing, this is the thing that will govern how many races you end up at the front of. You can have pace all you like, but at the end of the day, oh no, don't tell me. He's rolling out of it. He's actually, I mean, just listening to Mario Vartanian, he just let Jason Bentz just scoot on around him. Didn't fight at all. So he may not be good in terms of fuel. He may have played his hand in terms of fuel strategy in that direction.
He last pit on lap 11, so I'm going to suggest that you are correct.
He's slowing. I think the engine just cut out, so we were just saying, what a great drive, Mario Vartanian. And unfortunately, it's you've pushed your fuel numbers a little bit too far there, Mario Vartanian, but the pace was good, the consistency was good.
Just shy, but one man who has an Andrew Dyson who takes out the feature race win here at Hockenheim. First run of the season, and a feature race win for Andrew Dyson in the simrigs.com entry. Jeff Connell bringing home the Mercedes in second after that late incident, and Richard Brookfield, a great drive from him as well. He finishes third with his teammate Adam Funslow just behind him. So a great drive from our top three there. Adam Funslow fourth. We had Maverick Benson finish fifth. Matty Carleone sixth after running at the front of the field, just not able to roll the dice on the fuel strategy quite. Luke Turner in seventh. We had Christopher Henn in eighth.
Did he make it home? Vartanian made it home. Vartanian got P15.
We had Paul Mansell in ninth, and we conclude with Sam Lehman in the top 10 again. So he has had a good, consistent evening there, rolling out of that one. So not quite able to make it home from a pit stop on lap 11, despite managing fuel there. It looks like that lap 11 was the key. Everyone on lap 12 or later making it home.
I just heard a Ferrari just go absolutely blipping its head off into turn number one. So somebody was having fun. Decided that the multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars race car was pretty good for smashing into the fence at the end of turn one after the race was done. Didn't need it. Get a new one again next week. Why the hell not?
Well, I can tell you it was not Andrew Dyson who has pulled his Ferrari, simrigs.com Ferrari, up on the infield or outfield as it is, and he's got that one parked there with the headlights ablaze as darkness descends on Hockenheim, and we will have our race interviews, or post-race interviews I should say, with the top three drivers, Andrew Dyson, Jeff Connell and Richard Brookfield, coming up very shortly. And again, just to highlight,
I was going to say, Stu, one of the drivers I want to talk to, and it's mainly just so I can tell him that I'm going to be buying him a new calculator this week, will be Matty Carleone, because whatever calculator he's running, he must have missed a zero or something, because It's not sitting right where he wanted it to. Well, Jeff, seeing it on the screen at this point in time, talk us through what happened there at turn 1 in the dying stages of that race.
I was just pushing to the limit and ran a bit wide and lost it. So, I was struggling to keep up with Andrew a little bit, and I got one run on him when he made a mistake, and then he was almost getting away a little bit. So I was just hammering it as hard as I could, and just lost it. Just pushed it a little bit over the limit. So it's a pity because it would have been a good battle to the end, but I don't know if I would have got him anyway. I was pretty much on the limit.
A good roll of the dice there to get out of the traffic early. I'm assuming that was a deliberate move. Just with that starting position, the reverse grid following from race 1, putting a smack bang in the middle of the danger zone. It was obviously a conscious decision to pit early and try and run that reverse strategy to everyone else.
When I came in, it was conscious. Like, I didn't have damage or anything, but just realised on the first lap I was losing a lot of time, and I didn't know whether that was going to be a 1-stop or a 2-stop, but just rolled the dice anyway, and it seemed to work out all right. Just left me with a bit more fuel to put in at the end there, obviously because I'd come in so much earlier.
Yeah, it was looking very, very close there. A number of drivers trying to roll the dice on the 1-stop. Lap 12 being that critical lap, and lap 11 catching a lot of people out, unfortunately. So saw a couple of drivers run low on fuel, including Matty Cartaleone, who was running in front of you there for a little while before he had to make an emergency stop to get to the end of the race. So how was, obviously, Hockenheim, a new track, that many cars on it, pretty wild ride, I imagine, at the start of the race?
Actually a bit worried when I was in 10th with like 3 or 4 laps to go. I thought everyone was 1-stopping, so worked out okay. But Hockenheim was it's good fun. I love when there's heaps of cars. The more cars, the better. It just makes it more fun racing and passing people. And then also in a big field like that, if you do stuff up and spin out or crash, you normally still have people to race. Whereas normally, if it's a small field and something happens at the start, you got a pretty boring race. So it was good having all those cars, and Hockenheim was good fun. It was nice and wide, and felt fairly slippery in these cars, but that might just be these cars. I haven't driven them for a long time, so maybe that's the car rather than the track.
Talk us through car choice as well. So probably the best all-rounder at the moment in terms of the Ferrari, and then you've got effectively the replacement for the Mercedes, the Big Pig, and the BMW. You've opted to go for what we were talking about is the best sounding engine of the 3 cars in the field. What goes through your mind when you're looking to pick a car for a season such as this?
Well, the Ferrari, I'm just not comfortable in it because I've barely ever driven it. I was a little bit worried that Beamer was going to be the fastest. I watched that 12-hour about a month ago at Bathurst, and all the pro guys were Beamers. They were top 10 or so were all Beamers. So I was a bit worried, but I don't actually own the Beamer, and I'm a bit of a tight ass and didn't want to buy it. So I just ran the Merc, and went okay.
But it's good to see the GT3 field in such good sort of balance of power states as well. Like the ability to pick up any car and be successful at the moment is one of the best facets. And I mean, if you look at the official series, the McLaren has all of a sudden turned on its head and been the go-to car out of the GT3 field. It's a good experience and a good time to be an iRacer with that in mind, isn't it?
Yeah, and just on that, well done to these guys running the series, because I think three different brands all qualified within a tenth of each other tonight.
Well, that second race, Ferrari, Mercedes, BMW.
Yeah, exactly. And that's almost impossible to have 3 cars so close like that. As everyone knows, it's done GT3. There's normally an elite car and a rubbish one, but that seemed as close as ever tonight. So hopefully that trend continues. So well done to the guys, because that's pretty hard to get them so even like that.
Richard, time to bring you into things. You're running probably effectively. I'm going to start calling and labeling that because that's what it feels like. It's the Big Pig BMW. Understeer is always a problem in that car, but you've managed it quite well around the German countryside in Hockenheim.
Yeah, it wasn't driving too bad, really. Sort of managed to drive a little bit of the understeer out of it. But overall, I was quite happy to try and keep up with the Ferraris because, they did seem like they were pulling away, especially on that big long straight.
Yeah, so we were just talking just before you popped in there about the balance of power across the series and across this one. The Ferrari has enjoyed a little bit of a renaissance as well, but the BMW very much stronger in a straight line from what we've seen from some of the endurance races. With fuel there, you jumped in on lap 18, so no trouble with that to the end, and obviously running with your teammate Adam Funslow must have been a good part of the night.
Yeah, I was actually pretty stoked I beat him.
Beautiful. Love a bit of team competition as well. I'm just trying to get Andrew Dyson in, so just bear with me a sec.
I was just going to say, there's good opportunity whilst we're doing that. I mean, Jeff, you look to be running in an unsponsored car at the moment. Is there many shout-outs? Is there potentially any personal shout-outs then if you not got a lot of labels on the car?
No sponsors here, mate. Just sitting on a I've got a good computer, so girlfriend looked after me there. But yeah, literally just sitting here with a Logitech G29 or whatever it's called, and standard pedals, standing wheels. Nothing too special here, just one little screen. So yeah, definitely not a pro outfit here.
Well, you go, ladies and gentlemen. You can do it on the most basic of gear and be successful week in and week out. Richard, your opportunity to throw some thank yous out there.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all my teammates. Yeah, I like motorsport, and yeah, some of them are struggling a bit tonight, but all up, we managed to do reasonably well of it. So pretty happy with that.
Actually, I was going to ask, what's the weather like on the other side of the ditch at the moment, Jeff? Because I'm pretty sure that anyone on the eastern coast has had enough of this thing called rain. What are you guys doing over in New Zealand?
No, I'm actually like 20 minutes out of Canberra.
Okay, my bad.
There's been a little bit of flooding here. No one's house has been washed away or anything, and I'm perched up on top of a hill, so I'm pretty lucky.
See, I remember running with you. Sorry, Sue. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, I remember Jeff was running in the New Zealand Championship last year. that's what made me think that he was a Kiwi, but no, Aussie boy, all right.
And running unsponsored last season as well. We did put a couple of shout outs to try and get some stuff onto Jeff's car, but no luck yet, but we'll do some work on that as well. As Andrew Dyson joins us. Congratulations, Andrew, on the feature race win here tonight. You must be pretty pleased with how it all played out for you, up 4 positions from the start of the race.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm a little bit disappointed, really, for Jeff. I think we would have had a really nice battle, and it would have been good to watch. But you don't really like to win races like that. But I'll still take it, and I'm sure Jeff will be right there next time we're racing for sure.
Yeah, always
qualifying. Sorry, we got a habit of this.
Yeah, I don't know how this is working. I'll take a back seat. I'll let you take over, Scotty. It's all good.
Talk us through qualifying, Andrew, because I had a look at the laps, and there was absolutely nothing on the board from you, and you were the fastest guy out in practice. What went on there?
Well, I kind of muffed it up at the start. I realised I'd had the wrong settings on my wheel. So I had to kind of fix that up before I started my first qualifying lap, and that kind of threw me away off sync and off kilter. And after that, I just didn't get a lap in, basically. So I started 40th and had to do the best. And there was a whole lot of crashes on the first lap. And even on the second lap, it was very difficult to get through, but I was really lucky.
It takes a lot of skill to keep a car clean in those sorts of conditions and that sort of a layout, especially when there's cars 3 or 4 wide. What were the thoughts like when you're looking into the hairpin for the first lap from 40th position? Is it patience? Is it, oh, look, something's going to happen, I've got to make the best out of this? How do you manage that sort of a situation?
Well, yeah, for the whole first few laps when you're back there like that, and everyone should really have the same attitude towards it, is you're just really patient. So off the throttle before the corners, looking behind you to make sure no one's in a position where they're going to drill you. So you're kind of looking to protect yourself that way. Don't run into anybody in front. But actually, on the first lap into the hairpin for me, I was out of control. So I really didn't get to see what was happening ahead of me. I was nearly crashing like 6 or 7 times because I got a bit of a clip from someone else's crash. So I was involved in it still. Don't worry about that.
Oh, look, popped out the other side, and it didn't go too badly in the end. I mean, you pick up a race when in the feature race, but it was 40th up to 11th or 10th or something like that in the first race, and then we were actually watching your first pit stop. The car went up on the jacks. There was you forget to untick a tire.
I did, yeah. I took one tire, which was pretty awkward, but anyway, I got away with it, I guess.
All right, mate. Well, your opportunity. Shout outs, thank yous. Got to keep the sponsors happy, obviously.
100%. Obviously, Phil and Derek and all the rest of the gang at Searings.com, they get behind the series as well, and they sponsor DPR Racing and look after us as well. So we thank them so much. We've got our other sponsors in the car, Southwell Lifts and Hoists, BetSmart Racing Service, NP Designs, and there's one more. I've forgotten it. I actually don't have my cheat sheet up, but there's one more on there. I can't remember it, but we thank them so much and super generous. But thanks to you guys for putting on this broadcast. Thanks so much to all the series organisers. Love your work. It's super chill. Yeah. Everyone's really friendly to one another, which is the best thing. And yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
And a fantastic result as well, as I said, taking out the first main race, feature race win here in the simrigs.com supported Ferrari there. So our grid again, or sorry, I should say our podium again, it is Andrew Dyson, Jeff Connell and Richard Brookfield tonight who take away the top 3 places. Congratulations, guys, and thanks for taking the time to join us in the booth and give us an idea on just how things went down at Hockenheim tonight.
No worries. Thanks for having me in, and yeah, thanks again for the broadcast, guys. We love it.
Yeah, thanks,
Never
guys.
a
It was
drama.
good fun tonight.
Yep, thank you very much.
More than welcome, guys. Thanks very much for that as well. Scotty, haven't done it for a while, mate, so we're a little bit rusty on the to and fro there, but the one question we always flick is favourite moment of the evening. Can you remember from everything that we've had go on tonight your favourite one?
Was it Tim Audi, all out of control, heading in the hairpin, trying to grab multiple spots up at once? Look, it was hair raising. That is definitely for sure. But he did a good job pulling it up, keeping his car in the race, and putting on one heck of a show for all of about 3 or 4 laps before fuel strategy started to rob us of what was an insane battle pack of what was 6 cars at that point in time. But also drivers just using their heads. Like you said, 40 cars. It's not easy, and the straights here at Hockenheim are also wide enough that you can actually send it 4 wide. When you get to the corners, though, narrows it back up, and 2 wide is just about the best you can go. We did see one moment, I think, there through the hairpin where there was actually 3 cars going through there all at the exact same time. So, honestly, I think moment of the night is probably lap 1 of both races.
Yeah, all the drivers did really well. I mean, that battle that we that you just touched on there, definitely, I think the moment of the night for me, 3 wide, you've called it spot on. Down into the hairpin, plenty of respect, great driving from all of the drivers, and of course the benefit of it is they all finished. Probably not as high up as they wanted to, but they did all finish the race and would have had an absolutely cracking time at a relatively new track for everybody to get used to. So the track for mine, if I can't pick that highlight, because you're spot on with what you've picked, is Hockenheim. Definitely looking forward to seeing it used more and more throughout the series that we do cover, because it's put on a ripping event tonight with a capacity grid. So a solid addition to the iRacing software, and
actually,
definitely to the series.
Can I butt in and just say there's one other moment that's right up there tonight? Seeing every single car try and barrel out of pit lane at the start of qualifying at the same time. Oh my god.
Yeah, absolutely. That was interesting. They just managed to get out, and they were 2 wide out of pit lane as well. We probably didn't highlight that enough, but yeah, 2 wide out of pit lane as well. So a solid effort. Talking about the importance of getting out of pit lane, next week on the OzPro Sim Series, we head to Mount Panorama for the second of our sprint events. That is the 30th of March, and as always, looking forward to going to Mount Panorama. A lot of these drivers will have spent a lot of time running Mount Panorama in these cars, with the 12-hour having been run and won already this year, just a few weeks ago. So they'll all be primed and prepped for that one, which is in just 7 days' time, needless to say. And that always brings about some close racing, particularly if we get a grid of 40 cars. It's going to be exciting.
Oh, yeah, and I tell you what, look, I mean, for the cars to get through here and get through the hairpin here, you're going to have incidents, right? There's still a lot of respect shown from everyone. There is no possible way that there isn't cars rubbing right the way down the field. It's racing. People make mistakes. They think they've got a little bit more room than they do. When we go to Bathurst, it's blind corners. There's no runoff room. You know, there is only 3 makes. One of them doesn't have a turbo, so we might not see Jeff Connell as far up as he was this week. The Ferrari was the one to stretch its legs on the straight lines this week, which I did not expect. What the statistics I was talking about in terms of straight line speed, I'm actually pulling from open setup series. So the setup that the boys are running here with the BMWs obviously flexed a lot more on that rear wing of the BMW, or potentially a weight penalty or a power penalty. Whether or not we do see a little bit more of the penalty applied, Bathurst, the official event, did opt to take some power away from both the Ferrari and the BMW. But I'm sure Matty Carleone and Sam Lehman run a great series. They know what they're doing in terms of balance of power, and all of the drivers have mentioned how good it is tonight. So I'm expecting more of the same again next week. And who doesn't love seeing a grid of 40 cars at Mount Panorama? It's going to be chaos, but the kind of controlled chaos that it gets me ready to start warming up the vocal cords for about 3 hours ago next week.
Getting right up to the threshold of pain. Of course, before we do get there, we are back on Thursday night with the very first broadcast of the NASCAR Cup here on FGM eCast. We did mention it at the top of the broadcast. We're heading to Bristol Dirt, 130 laps there, and that one I am looking forward to. So we've got a little bit of work to do before we get there. As usual, Scotty, thank you very much for joining us on the stream tonight. Good to have you back. Thanks to simrigs.com, Bridgestone Select, Cranbourne, Fountain Gate, Rowville 93 PC, and HJ Plant Repairs, in addition to our broadcast partners AJ Insurance Services, for supporting everything that we do here, and to the race organisers for giving us a cracking event to commentate second week in a row. We're very appreciative of it.
Oh yeah, the quality up and down the field has been absolutely stand out. There's when you look through. I assume we're done for the evening, Stuart.
No, yeah, go, keep going. No, you're good.
Okay, all right. Things that we need to work on for next week. Working together.
No. It'll sort itself out.
When the stream's been turned on.
The stream's still going. You just don't need to watch the replay. You're all good.
No, I don't. You're right. I don't need to look at the replay anymore. I've got it pretty much ingrained in my memory from how good tonight was. But yeah, battles right up and down the field, and for a series to be successful, that nobody's going to come and show up any week if there's not battles for them to be engaged in. There's not risks that they need to be taking to try and overtake a car in front of them. There's not a fuel-saving game that they're playing. And look, they were struggling last season. They are not struggling this season. OzPass, it gets a big tick of approval from me.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. It was mentioned, I was just thinking of what Jeff said. Battles right throughout. We were commentating on battles for 27th and 28th throughout the stream. So,
isn't it? How great is that?
Yeah, awesome. It's great. We love, obviously, to be able to try and get everyone a bit of traction. Sometimes we get a bit distracted with what's going on at the front, but battles right the way throughout the stream. So can't wait for next week on the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. And as we say goodnight, Scotty. Again, thank you for tonight, and we look forward to seeing you back next Tuesday night if it fits within your schedule. And to everybody else, thank you very much for watching. We will see you on Thursday night for the NASCAR Cup Series from a dirt track called Bristol. We will see you then.